It's Wisdom Wednesday, where you drive the agenda, because on this segment of the Sales Gravy podcast, you bring your biggest sales challenges and Jeb Blount delivers his best answers. And those answers, they come straight from the trenches, because Jeb's not just teaching sales. He's out there prospecting, closing, and leading sales teams every single day. Let's take that next caller. We have our good friend Will Frattini and Jeb Blount here. An interesting question for Will from Brittany Helder. She says, my show rates for first-time appointments have been really bad this past quarter. What are some things that I can do to get people to show up to my meetings that I book?
All right, at the risk of seeming a little cheesy, so get that forewarning out of the way, a little flash on the screen, a little cheesy alert coming through. But it is on you to create urgency and to create desire. As a seller who's trying to book an appointment, now we're really talking turkey, right? We're not this isn't relationship build moment. This isn't human moment yet. You're not on the meeting yet. You're not in the room yet. You got to get them to show up. And frankly, time being the most valuable asset, we have to be demanding of attention, and then we have to earn it. But let's just be clear, show rate problems, best show rate that you could ever hope to have is 50%. You get higher than that, man, you're just riding the wave, keep riding it, enjoy it. But 50% is what you're shooting for. So the basic economics of double up the number of sets that you think you're going to have shows. So make sure that's quorum. That has to be part of it. Second, though, is think about how often you've offered up times versus, hey, can we meet? So what I mean by that, we used to call it the 10 and 2 rule. When, if you ever got your driver's license, you would be told to hold the steering wheel at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. So, hey, Jeb, I'm going to be in the area tomorrow. I don't know if you have openings, but I'm free between 10, 10:30 and 2 or 3. Does 2 work for you? Give a choice, take one away, give that choice again. Those are the little mnemonics that get a human being to say, oh, I want to take that choice. The last piece I'll say, and then Jeb can kind of back clean up here on the rest of the tactical, would be think about how far out you're giving someone the opportunity to think about how busy they are. Now, if you've had a meeting today and you're booking a follow-up meeting, great. But I think what Brittany's question is around first meeting shows, you got to shoot for 48 hours out. If they're not going to commit to that and they're going to tell you to send them an email with options, how good of a salesperson would I be if I didn't offer you up some times? If it's not something that you can commit to 2 days out, I just called you out of the blue. I will take ownership of reaching out to you again in 2 days. But realistically, my calendar gets pretty full pretty quick. So I don't want to put something out there too far for you that you have to think about why it was that you took that call a week ago. Those are the little cheesy and often sometimes looked down your nose by some salespeople. That is ultimately what it's all about. I love when I get to talk to my SDR clients and my SDR leaders, because you can just tell the ones that know it. Hey, I've got a really good message that I send. I make sure I don't give them too many opportunities to get out of it. I do include a follow-up of why we're meeting, just in case they do forget and they blacked out during that call that they were in the middle of eating a sandwich. But, tactically going back, make sure you target 48 hours or less from the day you are at today. So if it's Tuesday, try to book it for Wednesday or Thursday. Give them 2 options, either 10 or 2, and then take one away. How about 2? It's okay if they say no. That's what you want them to say. And then making sure you are demanding and creating some urgency. Hey, I don't want to put something out there that's too far out. We got some stuff going on, but we can absolutely follow up with you if you're not ready to talk. Just quick question, that type of urgency. Jeb, what about you?
Those are perfect. I'd also think about how you're setting the meetings. So some salespeople are really good at talking people into agreeing to meet with them. Sometimes they're so good at it that people will just agree to meet with them to get them off the phone. And so if you're really good at closing for meeting, but you haven't really created a good reason in their heart to meet with you, then in that case, it just may be buyer's remorse at the end. Like, they said yes because you were so convincing, but when they got off the phone with you, they're like, why am I going to spend this time? The easiest way to figure out if you're doing that is go back and listen to some of your calls. And does it feel like you're pushing people into the meeting? So just look at that. The second thing is how you follow up on the meeting that you set. So the people that you're setting meetings with are busy. I'm one of those people. Like, I'll set a meeting with you and have every intention of showing up, but I got 80 things happening in my life, and then everything just gets buried. What happens to a lot of SDRs and field salespeople and salespeople who are full desk account executives, they get a meeting because they made like 100 prospecting calls and one person says yes, and they get real excited. And so they jump off the telephone and they don't run a follow-up process to make sure the meeting is actually set on the calendar. So start with this. When the person agrees at 2 o'clock, before you get off the phone, say these words: I'm looking forward to seeing you at 2 o'clock on Thursday. And get that confirmation from them. And then say this, and this is important: may I confirm your email address so that I can send over a meeting invite to make it more convenient for you. Take that extra time. Don't get excited and jump off the phone. So first of all, you're going to make sure you have the right email address, and then B, you're going to send them a meeting invite immediately after that. Now, this is also important. So the meeting invite has to go out. It doesn't make a difference if they accept it or not. If they accept it, great. Even if they don't accept it, it's going to end up on their calendar. And I'm just one of those people that you're probably not going to get acceptance out of me. You might get out of my executive assistant, but if it's on my calendar, it's on my calendar. So the next thing you want to do when you send a meeting invite is make sure you send a meeting invite right. What a lot of sales reps do is they'll send the meeting invite, and the meeting invite will have the name of their prospect on it. So it'll be like meeting with Will Frattini. So Will comes in on Thursday and he looks at his calendar and it says meeting with Will Frattini at 2:00. And Will has got no freaking idea why there's a meeting with Will Frattini there. And Will looks at his day and goes, I got a lot of stuff going on. Like, I want to work on some Legos, and I got this thing on here, meeting with Will Frattini, and just deletes it off the calendar and show up. So you need to make sure that you follow a process that says, right, it says your name and then your company in parentheses, and then Will's name and his company in parentheses. So let's say Jeb Blount, parentheses, Sales Gravy, and Will Frattini, parentheses, Zoom info, meet about, and then what I'm meet about. Going forward from there, because showing up to meetings that people don't show up to sucks. The next thing you want to do is somewhere in the middle of this. So let's just say that you send a meeting invite, and let's say it's Monday. You send a meeting invite, you got a meeting with Will on Thursday at 2:00. So on Tuesday afternoon, I'm going to send an email to Will with a video or a text message if I know him. And the video is going to say something like this: Well, it's Jeb over at Sales Gravy. I just want to let you know how excited I am to meet with you. I'm looking forward to bringing some ideas. I've done a little bit of research on your organization, and I can't wait to learn, use those words, learn more about you. Send the email. Now, a little bit of what I'm doing is building some guilt, right? So I'm showing Will that I'm eager, I'm excited, I'm a nice person. I personalize an email to him and personalize a video to him. And so for him not to show up, it like creates some shame. Next, and this is important, if Will is a big deal account and I'm in the field and I have to drive someplace and it's going to take me a long time to drive there, I'm going to confirm the meeting. If Will is a big time account and I'm bringing the vice president of my Western division in to meet with Will, I'm confirming the meeting. I am not going to let executives show up on a no-show. In those cases, I'm going to send an email directly to Will, or I'm going to call Will directly, and I'm going to say, I just want to confirm, I've got my head of regional sales from the Western region coming in for the meeting. I want to make sure everything's going to be okay. If I'm driving 4 hours to go to see Will, I'm going to confirm it. If it's a first time meeting with a single stakeholder and their stakes are low, I'm probably not going to email or phone to confirm it, because the likelihood is if I do that, Will's going to get buyer's remorse and say, no, I don't have any time. The only play that you can use, and this is harder in the world of cell phones than it used to be, but if you have an office phone number, is you wait till the night before when you know everybody's gone home and you leave a voice message. And the voice message, again, kind of like your video message, simply says, hey, I'm really looking forward to seeing you. I can't wait to get there. If you need to cancel, let me know. You force him to have to go through the work to let you know. But he gets in, it's like 1:00 in the afternoon. And this happened to me yesterday, Will, believe it or not. It was noon. There was a meeting on my calendar that I wanted to cancel with a salesperson. And so I called at noon and nobody answered the phone, and I ended up showing up because I couldn't just not show up 2 hours before after they'd done all that work. They sent me a text message, let me know the meeting's going to be. They sent me like a pre-agenda for the meeting. And so I tried to snake my way out of it. I'm being honest here. But because they had done all the work and I just didn't have the ability to just not show up, it would have been rude. So I want to do all those things, because here's the deal. Let's just say that we get to that meeting and they don't show. I want to own the moral high ground. And the reason I want to own the moral high ground is if they don't show up, they feel like they owe me because I did all that work, that if I have to follow up to reset the meeting, I'm more likely, higher probability that they will reset the meeting with me, and a much higher probability that they will show up the next time because they owe me. If you didn't do any of those things, you treated them like a transaction, so they just treat you like a transaction.
If you think about how you buy stuff as a human being, it is kind of a funny phenomenon in like B2B sales or high ticket dollar sales that like we have this like culture of, oh, I got to follow up with you in a week, so let's book a meeting a week out. That can sometimes bite you in the butt, right? So the first meeting shouldn't be that. It should just be like, hey, I called you on the spot. I don't have time to talk right now, and neither do you. Can I talk to you later today? Like there's a real good reason why. And I promise you that if it's not a good fit to go further, I'll tell you, and I will be the first one, because there's no value in me stringing you along. But like, I think about, if I want to go buy a house, I can't be like, oh, I love this house. This is a great house. I'm going to call you in a week. We'll see you next week. How's that sound? Like, those are the things that like, you have to kind of just take it down to human brass tacks as well. I think what Jeb is saying, when you have a show rate problem, it's probably because there's just not something compelling or urgent or demanding that is sitting there in front of them. And yes, I promise you, I said at the beginning of my answer, 50% of people are going to show up one way or another. That's just the way it works. Like there isn't any SDR account executive on the planet Earth that can get some human being who's never talked to them before to convince on average over the course of a year. Maybe they're on a heater for a week or a couple days. Fine. But to have a first meeting show rate of about 50% is like Pro Bowl mode, is like elite all-star. Again, I'm not saying that's not possible to have a higher than 50% show rate, so don't come for me in the comments kind of thing. But like, you want to remember that you are still going to have a bunch of people not show up, even if you do it all right. So keep it simple. Think about what you're doing to make it easier for them to remember why they said they want to show up. Like Jeb said, that's the most important thing of all the stuff he said that I would ask you to remember. Why did they agree to meet with you? I hate those calls where it's like, I have no idea why I'm here. Also, spoiler alert, be ready for that, because most people might just say to screw with you. I don't know why I'm here, Jed. Why don't you tell me? Like, I have no idea because I don't even remember. Like, you have to think about the human element of, hey, I talked to JBJ. He was telling me some awesome stuff about the podcast recording software that you guys use. What I heard from him is this, this, and this. I don't know if that's interesting to talk about now, later, if you don't even care about it, but I'd love to just grab 10 minutes later today or tomorrow. I don't know if 2 o'clock works, so that we can figure out if it's worthwhile to talk more about. Like, those are the people that get you to that next level, right? And so again, thinking about how Jeb is pointing out, like making sure you're staying relevant and staying visible are really the things that I would hope that everybody heard from his answer, because those are the little, we call them, Henry, our CEO founder, calls them non-call to action value drops. Make that an acronym, Gen Alpha, Gen Z, we'll see what that turns into. But non-call to action value is just literally, hey, I know we're going to meet next week. Here's a case study about how we helped a customer do the same thing that we said we're going to help with. I don't know if it's going to be relevant or not, but you tell me. Like, those are the little things that I hope people heard from what Jeb said. And read them in his books, because he makes it so stupid easy to go figure that stuff out.
I have a bonus question, just really quickly, and one paragraph answer from both of you, if I could possibly get it. You do all the work, you get to the meeting, that first appointment, and the person no-shows. What is your follow-up message after that to re-engage them into a reschedule of that meeting? Will, what is your messaging to that person?
Hey, Jeb, I hope everything's okay. I was on the Zoom meeting for about 7 minutes. I've got some time reserved for Thursday and Friday morning between 9 and 10 a.m. Eastern for when people have stuff that comes up. Just let me know if you're okay. If you don't want to meet with me, I have really thick skin.
The reason I'm calling is to reschedule our meeting. It was set for Thursday. Not exactly sure what happened. Hope everything's okay. Let's go ahead and reschedule it for the same time. And the same thing goes for if I show up, like if I'm in person and I show up to a meeting and I set the agenda and I go, I just want to make sure we still have 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And they go, look, I'm really in a hurry. I go, look, I need a little bit more time because it's not enough time to give you what you deserve. Why don't we just go ahead and reschedule same time, same day? Because if they scheduled you for that time, it's probably an open time and I don't want them to have to think. And sometimes, I'll send them an email, send them a note. I'm going to follow up a few more times. Again, I'm back to, as long as I own the moral high ground and I've done all the right things, the probability is really high that they're going to respect you and they're going to reset the meeting. If you treated them like a transaction, if you didn't do any of those things, the chances are high they're not going to show up because along the way you either broke trust with them, you lost your credibility, they never intended to meet you in the first place, but you didn't follow the process. If you had done all those things, if they didn't have an intention to meet with you, most people, I'm not talking about the purely evil people that are possessed by demons out there. I'm just talking about most normal people are going to tell you along the way, look, I know I agreed to meet with you. I really can't meet with you now. I made a mistake. And I've had buyers do that. Look, I know I set that meeting with you, but it was really a mistake. I've got too much going on. Can we do this again 6 months? You don't end up having a no-show because the person told you they weren't going to show.
Yeah, I mean, that's your goal, right? A cold call's intention is to get the person to show up. And so there's no harm in listening to what Jeb just said. Hey, I think this is Carl Vanderkoy, top rep at Zoom Info, broke every record we could have ever had. The Tom Brady in New England of kind of analogies. Put your insert sports hero here. His first thing he'll say, and he says it so genuinely, is I promise you, if there isn't a fit here, I will be the one to tell you. Like, I think there is because I've done the hard work. But if there isn't, I got no reason to try and convince you to take the journey with me. Like, that's the vibe. I'm trying to get you to a call where I'm not calling you out of the blue because I guarantee I don't have your full attention. I'm asking for 10, 15. Worthwhile? If not, I'll tell you if I think it's not worthwhile. Here's why I think it is. You can tell me I'm crazy. People love that agency of being able to say no. No, man, I'm busy. I'm in a meeting. I know you are. I talked to JBJ. He said that the podcast software y'all use, every single time he tries to go splice, edit something, it starts to catch. Do you care about that at all? No, I don't care about it at all. Perfect. What do you care about? I mean, frankly, right? You're trying to get them to show up to that meeting. And when they start to give you a little bit of a nibble, hold that. All right, cool. I also have something I'm running to right now. I'm calling you out of the blue. Let's set some time for tomorrow, 10 or 2. Take what Jeb and I have kind of gone through today, make it your own. But remember, that is your goal, is just to literally get on and off the phone, I think, as quickly as you can without, rushing it or not creating that value.
Like, if you've got a question for Ask Jeb, go to salesgravy.com/ask. That's salesgravy.com/ask. Get on our list. You can come on the show, ask us anything. Will and I are going to be back together again on an entire series of webinars that are put on by Zoom Info. These have been really popular. We've been doing this now for, 7 years, 8 years now. We get huge crowds. We get, 2,000, 3,000 people show up for these things. So look for your email, look for this on social media.
Look, if you have questions for the show and you want to be on with Jeb, go to salesgravy.com/ask. That's salesgravy.com/ask, and we'll get you on the show. One of the more challenging obstacles we face in sales is making sure our prospects actually meet with us for that first-time appointment. There's lots of ways to go about making sure that you have butts in seats so that you can have a conversation that ultimately leads to a closed deal. Now, the first thing you should do is you should have a pre-meeting plan where you are communicating with your prospect with calendar invites, with emails, and with conversations that let them know that you are excited and that they should come meet with you. When it comes to rescheduling, always offer 2 concrete alternatives. Never send what works for you in a written email. And if they ghost, follow the short, still a priority checkpoint, and then reset. Do this consistently, and your calendar and your revenue will start to stabilize. And remember, when it's the end of the day and you're tired and you've had a bunch of prospects ghost you, always pick up the phone and make one more call. This is Jeb Blount Jr., and we'll catch you next time on the Sales Gravy Podcast.
Hey, I'm doing a happy dance because you watched this video. Make sure that you click like and subscribe so that you never miss one of our amazing sales training videos.